need some opinions from him at some point, so. I believe that we should be okay with the public hearing even though, because that's scheduled for a little later. So, draw attention to the sign up there of the Open Meeting Act and ask for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we'll start with roll call for Don Mink.
Here.
James.
Yep.
Bob.
Yes, present.
And Larry is absent on a cruise. So with that, we'll open the meeting at 6:40. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. And with that being said, I don't have the minutes ready for you, so they'll have to come next week or next meeting or sometime in between if you decide to have one. So the next thing is the consideration of petitions and other communications, and this is following the pattern here of what we've done in the past. So we have 2 liquor licenses that we need to approve if we can. And Mr. DeShazer is here about the Pulling Museum. So you want to talk to him about what goes along with that besides the liquor license?
Yeah, so it's for that July 30th for the dam race that takes place around the lake, and they finish up here in town in the past years. Race starts sometime in the morning out there. They had a beer sometime in the late morning, early afternoon. So we're here to approve for an SDL. We barricade that whole street off area. So when the racers are there and they want to have a cocktail, they can watch all the racers coming and all that kind of stuff. So I'm here to get approval for our SDL and for the street closure for the dam race committee. We close the street approximately at Waltz down to roughly 4-2 collision and towing. We have barricades we put up. There's still some room on the east side, is it the east side? South side of the street, people to walk through or whatever. But it'd be the same as the past couple of years.
Does it come all the way up to Waltz about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, we're a little bit past their door going to the east or whatever, so yeah.
Okay.
And Brian's aware of it, and
Yeah.
Main Street knows, and Tim Google's,
Yeah.
everybody knows about it and stuff, so Main Street knows about it.
And you use fencing to go.
Yeah, I bought steel barricades, so there's no more netting, it's all steel barricades,
Cool.
they don't fall
Throw
over and
down
stuff.
and up. Okay.
So they all look together, then whoever comes up, they put up tents for everybody to sit underneath and all that kind of stuff. So the finish line is in that area and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing here tonight to get approval for the street closure and for the museum's SDL.
So there's 2 things that we are, and let's separate them because he just needs the liquor license people to know that we separately, I think, approve the special use liquor license for that occasion. So,
I have a question.
yes,
We don't provide the liquor license. Why do we have to approve the liquor license?
because that's what the state says.
State says,
It's
State law.
state statute.
They can't get it without our approval.
Anytime we want to serve outside our premise, even if it was anywhere in the county, we'd have to go to the local municipality to get approval.
to serve outside your facility.
Yes.
Other than that,
Well, they have to get a license every
you
year.
already have it.
Yeah, I have a
They have to
license.
get it renewed every year through us again.
But this is a special designated license.
Right.
So anytime you're outside with your liquor license allows, our building, let's say, or patio.
Okay.
Like if we wanted to go serve and sell beer at someone's farm at a wedding, we still have to get a approval from the
From the city.
local people saying, yeah, you can sell beer there or something.
From the city.
From
You go to
whatever city it
somebody's
is.
farm.
Yeah, even if it's in North Platte, Nebraska, I have to go to North Platte to do it. You know what I'm saying? I have to go to the local municipality to get my
And
license.
ask them to serve.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like the VFW has to do it every time they want to serve outside their location, they have to get an SDL from you guys to do that, and the state.
Okay.
And I
I've
think
never-
it's actually, I don't, you correct me if I'm wrong, but if I remember reading some of that, the SDL is a special designated
License,
license.
yeah.
And those are rather limited, but like, I think, but like the Legion Club, they pay an extra fee on their license to have that catering where they go.
Yeah, I have a catering license, I can get as many as I want.
Right.
SPLs with my catering license and everything else, so.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So basically, you're working off your catering license
Yeah.
as well.
And years ago, the liquor license, they used to limit people to 5 or 6 a year. And a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, they kind of did away with that. But with my catering license, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they want you to get a catering
Yeah,
license.
so it doesn't matter.
Very meaningful, yeah.
We need a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion to grant liquor license to the Foley Museum for the Danbury.
So motion by James, second by Bob, to approve the liquor license for the dam race to the Foley Museum. And we will start with James to vote.
Yes.
Yes, and Bob,
Yes.
and
Yes.
And then let's, also, while we're at it, let's make another motion to give him permission to cordon off that street, so it's legal where he's
I'll
working.
make a motion to cordon off, what street is that? Main Street?
Make sure you go.
For July 30th, dam race.
Well, we start that Friday evening.
Okay.
Close it, we do the 29th,
29th and
30th,
30th.
30th, and we usually open up about 4 or 5.
Okay, I'll make a motion for the 29th and 30th to close part of Main Street for the dam race.
Okay, and second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by James, second by Dawn. And the vote will go to Bob
Yes.
and Dawn.
Yes.
And James.
Yes.
Okay, so that we have. The second one is a liquor license for the Legion, for the alumni, and nobody's here, but that's okay, we can do that without it. So, this is for the Legion for the alumni banquet, which is going to be held here in the auditorium on July 2nd.
I'll make a motion to approve the liquor license for the Legion alumni July 2nd.
Okay, motion by Bob,
Second.
second by James, to approve the liquor license for the Legion, for the alumni celebration on July 2nd. Okay, then we go to Dawn
Yes.
and James
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is the explanation of the sale of property by sealed bid. And I keep forgetting to bring this into the meeting, but remember we took the sink and hot water tank out of the kitchen. And there are people who are interested in that stainless steel sink, I think. So I'd like to be able to advertise that, both, in the windows and in the paper. We'll have Brooke put something in the paper. And is a month long enough, do you think?
Yes.
And we can run an ad every week. And then we'll just we'll word it so that they can drop the bid off or whatever. Specifically, that the bid has to be in a sealed envelope with no names on it. And we'll set it up the way it's supposed to be marked, like bid 4. And then we'll open it at the meeting in July. Highest bid gets it. Agreed?
Two.
I thought we should do maybe this, you guys help decide that. I thought maybe just say there's these 2 items, you can bid for them separately or together. They don't have to take those. We don't want someone to have to haul that hot water tank off if they don't want it. Agreed or no?
That's fine, I just don't wanna have to unbundle it, because they say together and then how much is for each one.
Right, let's
Well,
have it, if somebody says I want them both, but I don't wanna pay more than this for that, that's fine. Okay? So that would constitute a bid for each, wouldn't it, basically? Okay, could I have a motion then to sell that at sealed bid for, bundle or separate?
I'll make a motion to sell the hot water heater and the sink separately. Run it for a month.
Okay,
I'll second.
on a sealed bid, right?
Feel good.
Okay, second by Bob. James,
Yep.
Bob?
Yeah.
And Bob?
Yes.
Okay. So then the next thing that we need to talk about is a opening of the public hearing for conditional use permit. We're not gonna close this, we'll do this within this meeting, but we will open the public hearing. And we're right on, I had to go to about 6:50, and we're right there. So, we had, I think in your packet, there's that full building permit thing, and that came from the building, and that was sent out. These were sent, Arlene sent all these packets out, so,
No.
okay.
No, we
It's up there then. Brought to you. It is, I don't know, we sent, this was all copied and sent to Arlene's, and it was sent out in the mail. But if they did not come through, we had Glenn over here working on the computer, so who knows? So all I'm pointing out right now is this application, which was turned in.
Okay.
Okay, and the planning and zoning has already approved that. They had their public hearing. Whatever comments were made were included in the packet, emails or anything, or comments from people that lived in the area. And I should say, is there anybody in the public at this point that cares to speak? Because this is, again, a public hearing. If anybody cares to speak about that.
Sure, I'll just describe, what Mike Guthrie is asking for is a building permit. It's considered a conditional use permit because the car wash in the commercial zone needs a conditional use permit, meaning that the city can put conditions on the permit. And so the procedure is that planning and zoning reviews it, we review it a couple of times in our monthly meeting and work out the details, the questions we have, and then the procedure is that we have a public meeting, planning and zoning does itself, which we did, on May 9th during our regular meeting. And we opened it to public comment, and Tracy's here, she was there, and, this is Denninger. And they had questions along with the emails that they sent, and we discussed those topics. So the next, based on those discussions, the planning and zoning didn't really make any changes to their recommendations, so they basically went ahead and said, let's go ahead and do the public hearing through the city council. So that's what we're doing tonight. And I don't think there's actually any restrictions that the planning and zoning recommended, other than just the straight conditional use permit. And I don't know, Tracy, if we answered all your questions satisfactory, if you have any more. Let me just give you a real brief, quick
Yes, please, that's.
summary of that. The ones that were reviewed was hours of operation, and of course, Mike would like to have a 24-hour And, that was also consideration during, the hours of operation. The best Michael thought was, based on his manufacturer, is it'd be about 70 decibels to 60 feet. And I think Tracy's residence is gonna be about 150 feet from that, and I think the next residence is about 300 feet away. So we didn't feel that was gonna be any concern. The blower's gonna be inside. Curb appeal, Michael's actually gonna do a lot of improvement just up there along Iowa Street and 121. It's never appealing now, so it can only get better. And drainage along Iowa Street was concerned, where they have had runoff and it overflows that ditch and runs into the residents, but that will be improved also.
Just by the very construction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were some questions about illumination, is there gonna be a lot of lights, and it's gonna be bright? And our understanding was the car wash is gonna have basic lighting. There's not gonna be any electronic billboard, and there will be a sign in the front that'll have a basic lighting. And those lights are all automated, so he can adjust those whatever times of the day, so when it dim them down at night, he can put it back in. So those were the concerns we had, or the public had, and some of them were from the planning zone also. So I think we answered everybody's concerns that was at the public hearing, that was on planning zone. So at this point, we're making the recommendation to move forward and go ahead and approve this. And so that.
Right, and that recommendation is in there with that paperwork. Thank you, John, that helps to kind of follow the history of it. Tracy, anything you want to say tonight? Okay, is there anybody else in the public that have any concerns or want to say anything one way or another? Okay. Did you want to say anything, Michael? Okay. Then I would suggest that we close the hearing point at this point, and we move back into the regular council, and then we can ask for a vote for the approval or not of the permit for Michael's car wash. Okay. Any comments from the council?
Any comment?
Yeah.
No.
No comment. Anybody want to make a motion then for moving for acceptance or
I'll make a motion to move towards the,
to approve that?
approve the meeting.
Okay, so the motion is for approval of the conditional permit for the car wash and, for Michael Gunther on, Highway 101, or 121, excuse me. And,
I will second.
and second by Bob. So that's a motion by James and a second by Bob. And we'll start with Bob
Yes.
and Don
Yes.
and James.
Yes.
So, there you have it, Michael.
Thank you.
You bet. I'm gonna be glad to see that coming.
I'm gonna, still gotta wait on my tip stuff.
Yeah, well, I hope that works out well. Okay. So, is there any, yes, John, is there anything else we need to do as far as you know? Are we good?
No, that should be it. You
Okay.
can go down, so that's the last step. So-
Okay. And then we move in, on our agenda, we move into the reports, and the first one on is planning and zoning. Is there anything you want to say, John?
Yeah, I'll just kind of give you an update. There was a couple of minor approvals last month
Dan, do you want to say anything with economic development?
No, we're in the same place together.
Okay. And Laura's not here with the cemetery board, but the girls caught me here Saturday. There was Laura and Brenda and Rhonda came in. And we sat and visited for quite a while, talking about bringing the maps up to date. And I think that Memorial Day, with people visiting the cemetery, has brought some things, you know, people that have come from out of town and come to place flowers or whatever. That's kind of spurred some extra thinking and talking about locations and so forth and so on. So they're gonna be working on, one of the big things I asked them to try to do right at the beginning was to try to get a directory in the cemetery so that when people came in, it would be easy for them to find. You might have second or third generation family that may not remember where something was. And just make suggestions for beautifying and or if we need to remove any shrubbery or not, and trim any trees or not. Then this worked into just what are the rules of this and what are the sizes and so forth. And we've basically done some investigating and we've sold a couple of new lots and then we're tracing that back. So who's got the records of this? And of course, one thing goes to the county courthouse, and that's a piece of property that's owned by whoever owns that. And so that should be where they can find all the answers, but we don't have complete records. So when they come to us, you know, we're saying, what did you buy? And well, I don't know, don't you have records? Well, no, let's go to the county, and the county's saying, well, let's go back to the city. So we want to get that all cleared up so that those records are very clear, because that is a piece of property, and it's supposed to be listed in the courthouse if I understand it right. So we're working on that. That group's doing a good job. I don't have it on the agenda, but we're talking about the committees, and so I want to throw in that the tree board is part of those committees, and they will probably have some reports as we talk about replacing some of the trees that went down with the storm. So they probably will come in on the next group of, the next meeting. So in unfinished business, we still need to talk about the streets, the lagoons, the mowers, but the pool wages. We still need to talk about the cost share with the state. And I think that, I don't know, we have the streets first. I got a call again today from the guy that and I was wrong. I said that their bid was under 180, it was 130 something. So that's a pretty cheap fix we need to think about. We're going to have to decide about mowers, and we're gonna have to, let's look at the pool. I think that we're going to close session for probably those first three items. Let's look at the pool and the wages. Nikki was in today and suggested 14 for her 2 managers, 12 for all the other operators, and there's one new one that has no experience that just applied. If, you know, if everything works out and got his certificate and stuff, I think she said start at 10:50 when they started. And then there's a gal that we can get to work in the office, again, an experience that would start at 10:50. So what we need to do is maybe approve those. Mike, should we do we'll have to do an ordinance to change those.
For the wages?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what we've always done in the past, is set those, and then I should we talk about the contract at the same time, because that involves the wages too, and with the police officer.
Yeah, we need to discuss, there'll be a contractual matter that we need to talk about in executive session
Okay.
first, and then we
Okay.
can come out and make a decision.
Okay,
So that would play with this sewer lagoon and,
okay,
the new personnel early, I think.
yeah, okay.
Contract
good
with
to
police chief.
So, do you want to talk about the pool wages any, if you wanna talk about raising that or not down or whatever.
Did we do that when we talked before about policeman's salary potential, whatever? We went through the whole list at one point in time.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? It went how long ago?
Yeah.
And I don't know whatever happened to that update or where, what those numbers were, I don't recall offhand.
I don't either.
But we went through the entire list, right, that one you mean?
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you,
Okay.
where that takes an ordinance, and we did an ordinance last year with health wages.
Right.
In September, I think it's in September or October, we are obligated to post those in the paper, so we would have gone there, but so when you change those, you have to do another ordinance, if and somebody can correct me. But that's, the wages are normally set by ordinance, I believe. And fees and all that. So we have that list that we look at periodically, like, and the auditors always say, you know, we have it posted on the bulletin boards, so that's all there. So if we make any changes, if we went up 50 cents or something, or if we missed something, we basically, they would prefer we do a whole new ordinance and have a date on it as to when it's updated. But you can't just go back in and add something after it's been voted on. So if we update this, then we have to do another order, no big deal, we can, I think they can vote to do that, and then we can do the ordinance based on that vote, can't we?
Yeah, we'd have to have a vote on all this.
But we'd have to vote on each one of the wages, and then we could put it in that ordinance without a second vote, right?
Right.
So if you vote on updating the wage, then we can write the ordinance according to your vote. So the question before you at this point is, do you want to up the pool wages? If you don't, that's fine too. They're, I think they were 11 or 11 and a half or something. We need to look at everybody's wage. If we're gonna look at wages, we need to look at everybody's wage.
I'll make a motion that the wages to what Nikki proposed. I trust her opinion.
So 12 and 11, or 12, 11 and 10 and a half, I think. No, 14, 12. 14, 12, yeah.
So tell me what we get.
No, I'm sorry, 14, 12, and I didn't bring that in. Well, I know what I said, but I was looking for her. And she just said 14
For what?
for the two assistant managers, which is Lacey and Jackson. There's 4 more, or 5 more, that, because there's 7 total, so that are operators. They've all apparently got their operator's license.
Okay, and they're how much?
And they are $2 less, so that's 12.
Okay, so we have 5 of those.
And then there was, the new one that came in is, what's his name, the transport. And he just is applying, so but Nick and I said, you know, if it comes on, then they started at 10 and a half when they had no.
And what
although,
would they be called?
well, they're lifeguards, but they're not operators, so they're just plain lifeguards. They can't treat it, they can't put any chemicals in. The operators can handle and test the chemicals.
Okay, so we have 2 assistant managers, 5 operators, and 1 lifeguard.
And one, yeah,
Okay, and that's for the pool.
yep.
Okay. So do we have a motion by
We
Jay?
probably can we add a maintenance raise?
Well, we can do that. Let's do it one at a time. I'll
Okay.
just put it all in one.
Yep.
But that way,
Yep.
is that,
Yep.
so we got a motion by James, a second Bob, okay?
To approve the pool.
14,
Okay,
12,
so
10,
let's,
15.
yeah, let's just do that vote then. That would start with Don,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're gonna do what?
And then, and this just has pool, and then the wages should have said maintenance wages, but I didn't. But we need to, right now, we are paying both maintenance guys the same wage, because when we raised that, wage before Boomer retired, we just went to that 22, and that leaves them at the same, we've got a beginner and we've got a head maintenance, and they probably need to be separated. So if we're gonna start at 22, then the head maintenance should go to at least 24. Unless you wanna do something different.
I'm sorry, what was that?
If we have the beginning at 22, then the head maintenance should separate by a couple bucks, so it should go to 24.
Didn't we just approve that 2 meetings ago?
You went to 22 for all of them, straight across the board.
Right.
Your head maintenance, as I just said, I think they deserve more than a beginner. It's always been a difference.
Did we just raise that 2 months ago?
At 22,
Yes, 2 months ago, we raised the rates to 2 months ago.
the question is, do you wanna pay the new man the same as you're paying an experienced maintenance man? That's what the ordinance says now, because you said just go to 22 on both of them. That's how that was written.
What was the breakdown before we did that?
Started at 18 and 20, I think. Back at the beginning.
The reason we did that is Larry was moving on, Pat was moving on. That's why we did that.
Right.
I would start the new man out $2 less than the manager. That's my recommendation.
When they first, you go 18, 20, and then they went. Before that 22, the highest the head man was at 1950. And that was a dollar split, then it was 1850. Patrick, was that the difference? 1950 and 1850?
I was getting 1850,
And 19,
and then I think I got,
then you went to 19.
I don't remember now.
Um,
I started at 1850.
So here's the thing, because this is what happens, every time you change it, you have to have an ordinance. Or, I think at one time we had a spread, I think Charlie had, like the maintenance went from 20 to 25 or something, so you could kind of work within that spread, depending on experience. So if you don't do that, you have to change this every time. So at this point, because because Patrick was the underling, if you will, and was making 22, you either have to go that, because that's in ordinance with Dustin, or you have to put Patrick up. So if you wanna keep Patrick at 22, which, okay, so then that would mean bringing the other one down, because right now he's getting the same. So if you don't wanna go to the 24, go to 21 and 23, at least you're not bringing it down a whole $2.
Was he hired at 22?
He was just hired as a beginner, because that was what was in the ordinance, yes. That he was at, because they were all at 22, that's how the ordinance read. We have the right when we're training, I think for a short time, maybe, do less, but you'd have to check that with statute. Because that reads that way, they both are at that 22.
Both 22 is fine with me.
Well, that's, but what my statement was, head deserves more. That's who's making the plans for the day, doing the paperwork. He has the license for both water and sewer. Dustin's still getting it. So, just seems to me that maybe,
You give him an extra 10,000 a year for being your clerk.
yeah,
There you go.
yeah,
Then you gotta keep doing it.
yeah.
If this is all I gotta do, I'm fine with that.
And wait, and I'm just looking at the profit and loss, we have $10,000 worth of overtime up till April.
Yep. I'm gonna leave it as four.
I mean, if we can't go 22 and 20, I'm okay with 22 and 22. If we can't go backwards, if we can't go to a 20 and 22, I'm all right with staying both of them.
Well, maybe that would help him get his license.
Do we know how that overtime, does the head maintenance get a considerable amount more overtime than the regular maintenance person?
Over here, comment, that might be enough for him to get licensed.
Yeah, if he got 22, maybe that's help him get his license.
License for what?
It's sewer and water, they have to get licensed, they have to.
One of them has to be licensed for water.
No, we have to have two as long as we have the sewer system.
One has to be licensed for water. I checked with.
Okay.
Two have to be
Always
licensed
check.
for sewer.
Who did you check with?
Chad reckon that.
With who?
Chad reckon that.
And
Chad
he's the water
works for-
board?
He works for the city, he works for the water district. I asked Chad, he said one.
Does he work for the state water district?
Does he work for who? He works for the county.
Okay.
This is the county municipality out here, this is the county, he knows the rules, I asked him. He said one.
Okay,
Two for the sewer,
that's what we said, two
two for the sewer, which is gonna be gone.
Did you check with anybody on
Hopefully
that?
within a year, the sewer will be gone. I hope so,
It's having done it too, so, whatever.
I hope so.
That's not what my inspector told
Okay,
us.
I will do
So
some research, but
I
was
can
told
get you
one.
his phone number to call.
Okay,
and you can
you can
talk
give
to
me the
him.
number, I will call him tomorrow.
Okay, we'll leave it on at 22 then,
Okay.
I guess, unless you wanna vote. Don, do you have anything to say?
No, I just don't see how we can, if we hired somebody at 22, I don't see how we can take him back to
That's
20.
my, yeah, I understand that.
Unless he wrecked a pickup or something.
I was just concerned about the hierarchy of paying equal with experienced and inexperienced. That's what you're so willing to do with the pool. They get $2 more because they're experienced. So, we'll figure it out. So, then what do you wanna do about okay, so what about fringe benefits? Do you wanna do any changes there? The $500 allowance for insurance is hardly enough for any kind of insurance. So maybe you'd rather make up some of that, that wouldn't cost, that would be a good way to give a little bit of up, because, you know, that cost keeps going up and we don't have to pay taxes on what we pay in benefits. So that's a good way to get something added.
So, I guess we have it in lieu of insurance of $500 a month, or
It's not in lieu of, it pays insurance.
paid. And then the employee picks up the difference,
Yes.
and how many employees take benefit of that?
We would have, checking the cost of it right now, but, yes, Dustin is interested, Pat has always gotten it, and, because also the vehicle,
And with our discussion last week, at one time we did offer health insurance, and nobody took advantage of it, is that correct?
No, they've always, it's just different policies they can take. Here's the thing, with the cafeteria 125 policy, which we have, we set a set amount of money that is paid for insurance. It is a PPO, 125 PPO. PPO says it's paid premium only, paid premium only. So that money has to go towards insurance, or if it does not, it goes, and they have to pay taxes on it. Then it becomes what you said, like an in lieu of or cash benefit. That's gone back and forth over the years, but if that goes to an insurance policy, then it's not taxable. And like most of those, we pay directly to the insurance companies. They can also use it for a family insurance that for, if their wife has a policy or husband has a policy, they can, but it's still going, they can pay, have that money to pay towards that, but it's still on that, it's still a premium. They also can take supplementals like Aflac or dental or eye, that kind of thing, but it's all for insurance.
So
Or they can use that for, there's one exception to, for the medical insurance is they can have a life insurance as long as it's not over $10,000.
That still doesn't answer my question.
Okay, what's the question?
Did we not offer health insurance and nobody took it?
No, and my answer was they've all taken it. They all get it. There's never been an exception.
So we do offer them health insurance.
We offer them a cafeteria 125 PPO. Yes.
PPO, not health insurance. PPO is a portion of your payroll goes into this to pay health insurance, but that health insurance does not come from the city, correct?
That's correct.
So we do not offer health insurance.
We can't.
But I asked you last week on the phone, and you said we offered it, and Jonathan was the only one that wanted to take it.
No, that we offered a Blue Cross policy that
Which
was
is-
a full coverage. The other guys have it through their wives.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
But that's not our policy, it's just one offered by an insurance company.
Right, right.
So it's just like Aflac, but we talked to Ryan, and he had the Blue Cross, and then he went to United. It's a tradition, I guess, you know. If you had a policy that you wanted to offer them or something, they'd have that right to choose that if they wanted to. So they can choose whichever one they want to, okay? We don't sponsor it, we don't, you know, we just pay what they want us to do that.
Okay.
Does that make it clear?
Yes.
And they cannot take the $500, but they have to pay taxes on it.
That's right. You can't have, if you have a cafeteria 125, one of the choices, according to IRS, one of the choices in that program is that they can have cash if they want it. But if they take it, they have to pay taxes like it's a wage. But you are giving an equal amount to each employee. And I'd like, you know, with a cap of 1,000 maybe, but I'd like to see that go up. Because that's definitely a good benefit that does not cost us the extra. So what does it save us? Let's say that we went on another 500, what does it save us? Let's just use 1,000 total because that's easy, lots of zeros. We wouldn't pay our half of Social Security, which is .062. We wouldn't pay our half of Medicare, which is .0145. We would not pay unemployment, which is .022, and we would not pay IRA, which is a .03. So we would save 3, 4, 5, 6, 7% of taxes and so forth that we're paying in wage.
What does that add all that up to?
I don't know. .062 and that's .0765. of whatever wage, yeah, but no, that's, if you, what you put into that cafeteria 125, it's not taxable. So if you put $1,000 into that, you're saving $130 in taxes.
But you already have, they're already getting 500.
Right.
So
Yeah.
what you're talking about is that percentage times 1,500, right? That's really what you're.
No, I just get them to 1,000.
No, but
An
you're already,
extra five.
you're already saying they're already at 500.
Right.
So what we're talking about is the total additional, whatever the percentage is, tax, the 1,500.
Times,
Because you're already paying that for the first 500, right?
but I was just talking about the one.
No, I
So it'd be an
know that.
extra five.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. You're already paying $500 for each year. You wanna go the extra 5. So his question was, what is the cost us?
Right.
The additional amount would just be on that 500.
Right.
That's the way I understand.
Right.
Well, so 12%, or 13% on, I said 130, so it'd be 16. 'Cause I just figured it on 1,000, I just figured it on 1,000. So if you're only going 500 more, you're saving 65 or whatever. They all sound small, but it's taxes.
It's costing $435 more, but you're saving $65.
Well, if you raise the wage 500, it would cost you 565, that's what I'm saying. If you put it in the wage, then you have to add the taxes. If you put it in the insurance, you don't have to add the taxes. In fact, you take those taxes out, basically.
So the
Still
benefit
costs
to
you
the
500.
employee would be,
It still costs you 500, you can't deduct it, because they don't give them back to you, they just don't cost you. If you're gonna pay 13% taxes, if you have a $1,000 benefit, that's $130, right? That you would be paying in taxes and benefits like the IRS, which we have that.
So it's
If
not-
it goes to insurance, you just don't have that extra, it just costs 1,000.
And this is for full-time employees only,
Yes,
which we only have,
three,
how many?
at this point.
3, okay. That's an extra 18,000 here.
Is what, James? Would you say it's 18,000?
Well, if you're gonna give an extra $500 for 3 employees, that's $1,500 a month, or is it $500 a week?
500 a month.
That's $1,500 times 12, is 18,000.
Let's figure how much more it is, not how much it is total, maybe.
What was that?
We're already paying 5, so it's like
This is just an extra 5, it costs us 18 grand a year.
$500 per month times 12
3
months.
is 1,500, times 12 is 18,000. I did 3 times, it's 18,000. So we just increased the employees' wages for the workers. Together, just for the 2 city workers. $4,000 a year, apiece.
What?
We gave them both a $2 raise.
No, you didn't.
Half went from 20 to 22, 2 months ago.
Well, but not right now.
Went from 1850 at one point.
Okay, 1850 to 22.
No, he's already gone up at whatever, but
Is he getting $22 an hour?
he is now,
Okay.
but that's,
That was
you
done.
can't throw that into this raise.
Sure you can.
Okay.
Why can't you? It's all part of what they get paid. So he went from 1850 to 22. Shoot.
Yeah, it'd be 350 times 7,
Yep,
times
Times
7,000.
40. 52 is 7,200, times 2, 1,450, times 18. Oops, plus 18. That's a $32,000 raise in 1 year.
Between the three, essentially 2, 3.
Actually, yeah, okay, I'll take the 18 divided by 3.
Which would make it 12.
Right. Right.
Well, your biggest resource for keeping the city running right now is your maintenance man. And if you're not gonna, and the people that work for you, if you're not gonna pay them and you don't keep them, then the town rolls. I mean, then the water, the sewer, you can't run the town without the water and sewer.
With you saying that, then why didn't we give Pat a larger raise 2 months ago, when you suggested that? When you suggested to give them a raise, which we did, why didn't you suggest a larger raise at that time?
Why didn't you? You made the motion. Who knows, James?
No, you suggested, you brought this to the council. We
Yes.
approved it. In
And
the
I brought
executive
it-
session, we approved it.
Okay, let's don't do this.
No,
Who cares what happened then?
That was 2 months ago.
Okay.
That was 2 months ago.
And we were trying, I asked,
You asked what,
I asked for a raise, if you remember correctly,
right?
in closed session,
Right?
for Boomer specifically, that he would have something before he retired. And at that time, your exact words were, just make it 22, because he's gonna get there soon anyway.
Right. Which
So
was-
that does
which
not
was 2
distinguish
months ago.
between a head maintenance and a new person. So, yeah, I mean, if this is just because it's 2 months, let's do what's fair instead of what was 2 months ago. If we're worried about just doing it 2 months ago, what makes the difference if we're trying to work it out?
What makes a big difference is if we wanted to do that, or do this, why didn't we just do it at that time? Or is this, I mean, I think what Pat does, what Boomer does, I think they do a great job. I have no problem with, my issue is, are we gonna address this every 2 months? Are we gonna give them a raise every 2 months, every 6 months?
I'm good with this, and if I had said, $7,200 increase in my salary a year, I'd be pretty happy with
With the increase of salary,
that. Just the $7,200.
with the $7,200.
That's a pretty good increase in this
Yes.
salary.
So what did you say, Bob?
Just leave the 500 like it is, away we go. Knowing that we just increased salary by $7,200 a year.
Well, you do know that they hadn't had a raise since I came aboard, and the board was voted, this is 3 years without a raise. So if we did 2 in 2 months, that wouldn't be out of line. There's not one of them that goes without a raise every year. So, consider that. You wouldn't work without a raise?
If I had a $7,200 catch-up in 3 years, I would.
Where do you get the 7,200 out? Let's do that.
50 cents an hour times 2,000 hours is $7,000.
72,
Say that again. $2 an hour.
$3.50 an hour from 1850 to 22.
We told you he'd already gone up
I
to
was
1950.
I was 1950. I started at 1850.
So we figure.
Still 5,000.
Well,
And we do this in September, right? That's when we're normally supposed to do this wage.
no, not necessarily. It's published in September, but there's no set rule about when you give a raise. However, one would want to get that into effect before the next budget came on. And that should be in September.
So that's an 11% rate increase in salary.
11% raise
Yep.
since when?
Since he went from 1950 to 22, that's 11% raise in salary.
You guys can look at these. I don't have a calculator, that's not mine. So that'd still only be that'd only be 4% of whatever a year for 3 years. If it went
What-
to 12%.
And I feel we were
So-
not,
So, whatever. My question is, are you gonna make a motion to do anything, or are you gonna just give the girls the way it raised in the swimming pool and go ahead?
yes, I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
You don't need a motion if you're not gonna do anything.
You just,
I just said, are you gonna make a motion to raise these, do anything with these wages, or are you gonna just ignore it? You're gonna ignore it, okay. So what about the cost share with the state of the water main?
I talked to two people who live out there, they both have well water.
They all have well water, there's
Right.
no water out
I
there.
I'm just saying, I talked to two people that live out on that. So if the state puts it in, does the city get any revenue off that?
Okay, the way I understood the proposition was that the state, if the state put the main in, that then they would buy the water from us because it goes through our meter. What we would make would be what we charge them for water. However, what we charge for water in town also includes the so-called maintenance and so forth of the water lines, because we repair those, we keep them running, we put the meters in, etc. There wouldn't be, there might be a meter out there we could charge them for, but if they own the main, there's nothing for us to keep up. So they would only have to pay us for water. If we share cost, and there was always a share cost was the word they used, which said we wouldn't be paying all of it. But then we could do what we do now, which is charge, for example, the first $42 or whatever it is for each house is the first 1,000 gallons of water, but that big cost there is the upkeep of the mains and so forth, and the turnoffs and the meters. That's what pays the bills to repair those and maintain them.
And that's $42.
We would not be able to charge any of that to them because they would own the main. They kind of indicated, if I remember right, Patrick, didn't they say that they weren't interested in putting it in themselves, particularly because they wouldn't be able to charge anybody that came on. They're not an entity that runs a private enterprise. So if people did want to tap into it, they wouldn't necessarily be able to charge them for it.
They did that in one other town, and they were running into problems because people were tapping on and they really couldn't, and they don't want to put the main in and then without help from the city, and then the city just gives the income.
And we would-
People were hooking on to the state's main, and it was the
Right.
state's main, and
Right.
and they got no revenue for it.
Right.
But they
They
could charge
wanna
them, but
avoid that.
the city could charge them because it was their water coming.
Yeah, the
through that
city
meter.
billed the water, but the state got nothing.
And it gets a little confusing because the county owns a certain amount of that main too, and if you tap into that, that's 15 grand, you know, just to tap into it.
But each private landowner still has a right to keep their rural water or to go to this, right?
There is no rural water out there.
Their well water.
Yeah, they can use their well water, but that's the whole point, there's no rural water out there, so that's kind of that in lieu of the county, or what do I want to say, the rural water enterprise, the Cedar Knox, if you will.
James, the two people you talked to, did they indicate they would hook up to it?
No, they have, because they drink it, yeah, we drink it, we have no problem, we get well water. So I don't see that happening anytime near the future.
Well, you're talking eight possible hookups roughly. That's gonna take, if you're splitting it, $100,000, and you're paying 50 for it, that's gonna take a
Long time to get $100,000.
Say that again, Michael, would you?
I say if you're doing a 50-50 cost share with them, to run it out there in anticipation to get hookups, you're only talking about 8 hookups. That's gonna take
Yep.
long time, if you get all 8 to hook
Yep.
up, to pay off that 50,000.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
The only advantage would be if it would be, and you can't even force them to come on.
no,
So the biggest, the only anticipation might be that there would be new housing on the north side or some, you know, and the likelihood of that. Null and void also. It's, and I think they're leaning pretty strong towards the well anyway, but whether it'll hold up for them, you know.
what do they use now?
They're using the well, aren't they?
They're hauling it.
They're hauling water in because the well, they can't get, that's the problem. It's, the wells are good for houses and so forth, but when you do that mass pumping, they'll oftentimes go dry, is my understanding, and cave in and so forth. So, and they don't use that much water through the year, it's just in the wintertime when they're mixing that salt stuff with highway. Yeah.
When you're talking about that water and the state wants that water, how many gallons are they gonna take a minute?
Don't know that right off.
Well, I would
They
be very,
use most of it in the wintertime like that.
yes, right, but I would be very concerned if I was gonna hook onto that water main and they were getting something like 200 gallons a minute. It's like flushing your mains. The guy that's hooking up to that water main's gonna have dirt in his water. No way of saying or puts about it. And they're not gonna have it come in at 5 gallons a minute. They're gonna wanna get a big amount of water come in there pretty fast.
It's gonna
Well-
be 120 gallons a minute.
120 gallons a minute during
Okay.
the time they're doing that. But the Cedar Knox said that was no problem, didn't they? That they'd increase that much in the main at that time or whatever.
We usually don't use that much water through the winter.
See, our heavy use is in the summer, so,
They would use it through the winter, yes, but when they do use it, they would increase the flow of water through there to help clean the mains out, and I would not wanna be hooked onto that main out there for my personal use.
right.
Because there's a pretty good chance I'd have to put in filters to get rid of the dirt and the
that
stuff
would-
that
yeah.
you're gonna
And
bring
so
in.
that might
That's something
discourage-
that should be considered.
Well, and that would, for the landowners out there, but if the state wants it on the end, if they get dirt, that's up to them, I guess. They'd know that,
The
right?
state isn't gonna care if they get a little bit of dirt in it.
That's right.
But if I was hooked in there, if I was a person out there and was hooking onto it, I think it would cause me problems.
Might, I don't know.
I don't think it's I've been around water a long
Well,
time.
but we're not talking about servicing anybody out there, that's what they're saying, probably
If you're
none of
gonna
them.
put in cost sharing, you are.
No, cost sharing is what the state has nothing to do with anybody along the line. They were just talking about probably nobody would
That's
have.
the $100,000 that they want us to,
What's that?
they want us to pony up $100,000.
No, that's not true.
Did you say that's what they wanted us to do, cost share of the $100,000?
The estimated
Our share.
cost to go from our main out to there is in the neighborhood of 100. But without engineering and figuring out main sizes and all of that, this is all preliminary. They're just asking, is the city going to sell us water, or do we need to go look to a different alternative? So
Yeah.
the question here, do you want to or do you not?
Yeah, we'll sell
And
the
that's the
water.
same question
But
that
the
they're
thing
asking.
is, but,
We're
no,
selling the water. Is that what you, is that
but
what
what you just said was that they want us to pony up $100,000, and
they
that,
want us to cost share this out to the place?
well,
But I remember in a
sharing
meeting
it,
that we talked, it was $100,000.
well, but that doesn't cost us $100,000 if the whole.
I thought that
project-
was our piece of the pie.
I don't think so.
That's just an estimated cost.
That's an estimated cost of all of
So
it.
if they just wanna buy water from it, we'll sell them water. Why do we have to cost share the pipe to get there?
We're just throwing the option out there. It's not having to do anything. We're just asking them, yeah.
But if they was going by water, why would it cost you?
Don't have,
I just explained that, that would be the difference, because then we can also charge them for the use of the pipe, and then if anybody had cooked on it, they would be paying us, because they won't pay the state, because they're not an entity that can do that.
If they hook on it, they have to pay us regardless, whether we pony up anything or not.
Yes, for the water only, that's
Everything.
it. If we share the pipe, they have to pay us for that. Kim?
When they were doing road work, weren't the road crews filling up right
Yeah.
over here?
Yeah, sometimes,
Why doesn't the state just
not
come
enough,
over here
not,
and do
not
that?
enough of it, they can't get enough of it here. It's too, more than they can haul, is my understanding. This takes a while to load, that would be,
So they'd have to make a couple extra truck loads, but they could do that for a lot less than.
I don't know, I guess you'd have to ask them, but they didn't think that was feasible, that they would get that much water that fast enough. Makes a lot of difference if you're loading the truck and hauling it out, and you need this to be stirring your mix. You know,
I'm not in favor of the cost sharing. Damn.
you got any thoughts, Don?
No.
Bob?
Economically, it doesn't see where it's an advantage to us at this time.
We could just leave it at that point, you know, because they're not,
you can call their engineer and tell them, that's all they are asking for.
yeah, we can tell them at this point. We're not interested. Okay.
Would we be willing to let them hook onto our line at their expense and sell
I don't
them?
see a problem with that.
You know, okay, because that's basically the other question.
Yeah, that's the two options.
That's the two options.
If they wanna hook on, but I agree with Jerry. The amount of water they're gonna want is, he's probably right, really flush that system out.
Well, I'll give you a good
Maybe
example.
that'd be an advantage to it.
Maybe it would be, I don't know.
Maybe get rid of some of
Out
those.
there, I've got wells out there, just plain farm wells, they're put out, got two of them hooked together, one puts about 15 gallons a minute, and the other one will pump about 16 gallons in, a minute if you open it up. If we run one hydrant out there, the water's nice and clear, it's okay. About the time we kick two water hydrants on at one time, it's a little bit and we start seeing, looks like you took a leak in a jar.
Sediment.
Don't take very long, it clears up. But that's what I'm talking about. You can't tell me that if you put that out there and they're gonna get 125 gallons a minute coming through, what, probably a 2.5, 3-inch pipe? And it's a dead end, so the dirt that's there is gonna, it's gonna come.
Would it eventually clean out?
4-inch?
It's all speculation, yeah.
Would it eventually clean itself out? Would it eventually clean itself out? Would it eventually go to the end?
Well, but
Go to the end.
you got a dead head, the dirt that comes will settle and sit there, and then when you get a velocity of water, it picks up, it'll take it up and bring it out, yes.
You know, just so we don't have any issues with this, I think it'd be appropriate if you had a motion that you don't wanna do a cost share. And then,
Yes.
if he finds something else out, then he comes back to you and says, this is, would you be interested in this? Otherwise, you're kinda opening up the door, you see what I'm saying, that way, so there's no confusion on that. So I think I'd rather that you had a motion, that you're not interested in cost share, but you'd be open to listen to any other alternatives.
Which is hooked on to the city main.
Well, it could very well be, but I think the council has to vote that they're agreeable to do that, as opposed to saying, well, we're not interested in cost share, but we'll do this. You don't have enough
But
information.
but we also have to say that it's okay that they can hook on, for them to make their plans.
Well, then you're having two things
Yeah,
in one motion deal, and that's your question,
Can we
whether or not you
do-
need to do that or
we
not.
can do separate.
Can we do it each separate?
But
Yeah,
that,
you can do it
isn't that what you said, that you would be willing for them to get water from us, but not cost share the cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then you'd be authorizing the city to do that. And I'm not against that, I mean, I'm not trying to talk in one or another.
No.
I just don't wanna have a situation where you have a deal where you're saying no to this, but you're kinda opening the door to something else. and you wanna know exactly what you agreed to do. So, you know,
Do the motion then that we are not interested at this time to do a cost share thing.
I'll make the
Leave it at
motion
that
that we're
then.
not interested at this time to do a cost share with the state of Nebraska to get water out to their facility.
And I'll second.
Might be a little late, can I ask a question?
Yes, go.
If somebody wants to tap onto the states, then how would they do that? Will they be allowed?
I don't know, that would be, yep, that's kind of what they said, they kind of were forced into it.
These are all like imaginary houses right now, because nobody has their own well would wanna tap on and pay extra money for water, right? Nobody would wanna do that, but does Northside Acres have its own main?
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't be involved, this one goes out the highway out to the state shop. Out
East.
Out
Yeah,
east,
north.
out east, yeah.
The engineer told me if we don't cost share, no one's hooking on that line.
That's what I figured is,
Period.
they just wouldn't let you.
Right.
They're gonna pull 120 out of the
Right.
wells.
Right.
Water's gonna be
They're
used anyway.
they're looking at drilling a well or hooking on the city water. So if they hook on the city water, they were open to cost share. If we're not open to cost share, then the next question is, will we sell them water and will we let them hook on and bury at their expense from there out? That's their question.
So we're just making a motion now that we're not interested in the cost share.
In the cost share.
yes.
And so James made that motion, that this time we're not interested in the cost share, seconded by Bob, and we will start with James
Yes.
and Bob
Yes.
and Don.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we want to follow up with a motion or see?
Yeah, we just, I think we just leave it at that, don't you?
Well, I think at this point, if they're open to that, then they can come back and say exactly what the terms are.
For the
So that's-
adding on,
If
yeah.
you're gonna do this, because you may think of some questions down the road that you haven't thought of tonight, and there's no use for you to be making, you know, a decision without the facts to do that.
I mean, is it, like, could we possibly have a representative from that state show up here and tell us exactly what the plans are?
And they get ready for it, I don't think they've got.
If we're not gonna cost share, they're either gonna dig a well or hook onto our line. They wanna know if we'll give them permission as one of the options to possibly hook on our line.
So-
That's all they're asking.
The parameters of hooking our line, what exactly that means to us. You know, how many gallons, how many months?
120 gallons a minute with a 4-inch pipe, that's 4,100
I'm gonna guess it'd be
feet
a
out the
meter.
highway. There's gonna have to be a meter pit. There'll have to be a backflow device, it's all engineered.
I think that's something we need to talk about.
So, I mean, that's a question I would have is.
Yeah,
are you
that's
gonna
my
charge-
question, too.
Charge the state the same amount as you can somebody else.
And we're only charging very little for those extra gallons if you don't have the maintenance, yeah.
Wouldn't the state actually be working as a developer, and under that condition, the developer pays the cost for the project, but the city would maintain it after they put it in? I would see that as a cost share
Could be if
alternative.
they, but they just wanna know if we were interested in cost share, and that could
Right,
be.
but that would be a proposal that, yeah, you put it in and we'll maintain it.
And we'll
But
maintain it
then
and
they're
get that
developer
extra
like
money
they
for
should
it
be,
while
so-
we're at it, yeah.
That does open up the possibility of people tapping up to it, because even if it's owned by the state, if somebody would hook up to it, even though they say that nobody will hook up to it, they still have to buy water from the city. It all comes through us.
And you know, the rural water anticipates more users out there eventually. And when they came through and I visited with them a little bit there and said, you know, I can't see but what it would be an advantage to be hooked on and be having water out there, you know, potential.
However, the city's getting the water out there now is not at 120 gallons a minute either, so.
Well, yeah, it's not going out there now, so.
I mean, however, wherever they're getting the water, they're still having to truck it in.
Yeah, and, yeah. The, that's, I like that, your statement there though, Kim, because cost sharing doesn't necessarily mean the building of the pipe. Cost sharing means some kind of a deal that helps us take some of the responsibility, and then that allows that entity to charge for that service.
So when he asks me tomorrow, when I call him, are we willing to still possibly let them hook onto our line, what do I tell him?
Yes. We never voted against that. We voted against sharing the
never
cost of the line.
But you never voted to either. It was
Okay.
always just,
Point.
Okay.
That's the point.
I think the thing of it is, because you still don't know what would be the terms that they would look at. So in other words, we do know it's gonna be 120 gallons, right?
and
Or whatever.
they're estimating that, yes.
Okay, so at what cost would that be to the city? What can the city, what are they gonna pay you for the city? Is it the same rate as everybody else? You know, what could your potential out-of-pocket cost be? And I think you need to know that. I think you can say that the city is open to that discussion, right?
But we don't wanna set any parameters yet, so we know what.
That's my question, been my question all along. Are we willing to go further, or is it just a plain no, we're not gonna let you?
No, I don't think you guys have done that. I think you just said you just don't want to cost share. And they have some other alternatives, and they may have thought of something else other than that, what they've already presented you. Then you can have that discussion. But at this point, you don't know, even selling the water, whether or not that's a good deal or a bad deal. I mean, I don't know what the cost would be for you guys.
We don't wanna charge them what we're paying. We need to make something out of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's the advantage to you?
No, unless we making something up.
Yeah.
And that doesn't put pressure on our existing infrastructure, we'll be able to handle that.
And those are the questions that we keep asking
Right.
the engineers and everything as we move along. So I think your statement that you're not interested in cost sharing on the pipe, says if you're done with that, then the next question is, are we open to a
Further
discussion of allowing them to have water with, and setting the perimeters as we see, as they come along? So make the motion to to be open to allowing them to buy water through us.
I don't think you have to make a motion. I think at this point, you give him authority to say, you know, you're open to further discussions, because you don't know what that further discussion.
That's where I thought we went, then I thought there was a suggestion for a motion.
That's no problem.
We turned down one thing to see what they come up with next. Is that kind of about as simple as it gets? Got it.
Did they give you any idea about how many gallons of water they would use a year? Any rough estimate?
Depends on how icy the roads are.
I know, but they would have an average.
They
You
did.
know, we didn't
Yeah.
ask that.
We don't have that.
That's going way beyond their question.
Okay, so let's move on to the new business. So there's a water fountain. We'll go into closed session for those others.
Well, I think with the streets, I think
You want us to go into that now?
I don't think, you guys have already had a discussion about the streets. I
Yep.
don't think there's anything,
Well, we want to, what do they want to do?
well, I think you gotta do that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
To decide
What do you want to do?
The streets, I think the sewer lagoon is a contractual matter that should be held in executive session. We've
Okay.
already talked about the mowers. I mean, as far as open discussion for us, where you just have to make some decisions on the streets and the mowers.
The mowers, let's go to them, because you okayed the parameters you set when we talked about that night, that it was possible that those mowers would no longer be available, that were sitting in the houses, and they were no longer available. There's two. But what, the parameters that were set was the one that was at John Deere would be two of those gas powered, and there was not the first one was even gone, but there's another one coming in. And it would be here, probably is getting here anytime. And then there is another one on order, but that second one is diesel instead of gas. That was the only parameter that was off. And they were willing to give us same trade-in and to make the same deal, but it would be later on. If we did not make that agreement to take those two mowers, then we have no guarantee, and they don't know when they'll get any more, and none of the prices are guaranteed. So you came out with stop this whole deal when in fact we had one that met your parameter. So we either get one, that the one is, it was already voted, that was a yes, and yet we stopped it. So if we want that mower, it's spoken for because they knew we wanted it, that has not been spoken for at this point. We can still get that one that is coming in. We can also get the second one if we let them know that, but from there on, we have no guarantees of any prices. Is that about right, Adam? I got that right?
So the motion that was set last month was 72-inch deck, shaft driven down to the deck, gas engine for 12,500 or less, and we could get the gas for outright for 12,500. The one they had priced us is no longer available, like Cheryl said, but they have another one that they ordered for in the store that we can have for it, and that exactly matches that motion, except for you guys said you wanted two.
And they wanted gas.
And you wanted gas, so that the second one, we could still keep our diesel we have, run it till the diesel they have ordered comes in, trade it in on that one, and it would be the same thing as the first one, and it would be for 12,500 would be what that one would cost, but it would be diesel because of the trade-in. They would
And the
allow us to
government
keep.
pricing. And the government pricing.
And the government pricing, and they would allow us to keep our mower until that diesel came in. That was their offer at that point.
So kind of look at the value of, I think it was like an 18,000, wasn't it? Then you got the trade-in and you got the government, and you got it down to 12.
It was 4,000 trade-in, so it'd been 16,500.
But there was government
Outright.
pricing too.
Well, the government pricing brought it to 16,500.
So it was like 18 to start with.
But this current machine we're talking about isn't the one with the special extra $1,000 cushy tire kind of deal.
Yeah.
If we bought both of them, both the gas and the diesel, they would eat the $1,000 for the fancy new tires. If we bought just the gas, they were asking for the additional 1,000. Thank you, I forgot that part of it. If we just bought the one, they said, I guess if you guys want us to honor the 12,500, we could, but we would hope that we would sell you another one, because we were also talking possibility about a belly mower. So they said, well, if you guys kind of somewhat, he was hee-hawing around, promised us to buy another mower in a year or two. He said, I guess we can.
Once we start getting back in business.
That was his exact words.
So the gas mower was not the trade-in mower, the diesel is the trade-in mower.
The diesel is the trade-in mower.
And the
yes.
gas mower was how much that we?
The gas one outright that we could have potentially this week, we could have that for 12,500.
Well,
outright.
that's what we agreed to, the 12,500.
Yes.
We agreed to that one. And then the diesel, we talked about, when it came in, that would be the trade-in plus.
The outright price for the diesel would be 16,500.
After government.
After the government pricing. If we traded our diesel in on it, they would take 12,500 for that one, and we would get the $1,000 extra fancy tires on the first one. They would eat that if we bought two.
The first one would be 12,500, and the diesel would be what?
12,500
Both would
after
be
trade-in.
12,500 after everything.
After everything, yes. So you're looking at 25,000 for 2 lawnmowers, 1 gas, 1 diesel.
But they're still not honoring their original agreement. And the original paperwork we had from, they were gonna give us a $4,000 trade-in on the $12,500 mower.
Well, you only have one trade-in.
We
There
only have-
still are.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which mower they trade in. We're
It
gonna
wouldn't
get-
have originally, but now it does.
Well, we were using the trade-in on the gas,
We-
now we're gonna use the trade-in on the diesel.
Right, but they
And
won't
we're
let
still,
us,
and, yes, it would, and so they're still honoring that trade-in.
not on the gas mower. They're not that they originally had on the piece of paper that they were.
He
But they
said,
only had one trade-in, Bob. We didn't have two, so it doesn't matter which one it goes against.
he did tell me that if we wanted to trade the diesel in on the one mower, they would give us the 4,000 for ours. But then we would only have one
Two
zero-turn mower.
And that's what we have right now.
Right. But they're willing, if we did the two mower thing, they're willing to let us keep our diesel and trade that in at the time the diesel comes in.
See, we
And that
talked
would
about,
bring them
But
both
with
in at
this deal,
12,500.
we'd have three mowers.
yeah, we talked about keeping that diesel and running it till they came and got it. Plus, we keep the belly mower for around the bike, and around the.
And that's a definite.
Just for that, keep it, just for that, and tillers and maintenance. You and I talked about cutting down the mowing time and things like that. I think it'd be a good idea to get the one for sure, and then trade in the diesel on the second one. But we don't even know when that's gonna come in at.
No,
End of July, beginning of August is when they're being told the diesel will come in. And he did say after that, there are no more mowers. It'll have to be next year's model.
so if we do that, you know, we just know that we're running this one until that comes and then it goes. So we want to keep it running.
My concern, Bob, if we wait another year, that's the price of everything going up.
And not even available.
It may not be available. Go ahead.
May I ask, who set up the perimeters on these moors? As to what they were gonna
The
be?
council
Council
did.
did.
The what?
The council did. It's a motion at that month's council meeting.
Yes, and you got on there that you have a shaft drive. How many moors on the market are shaft drive?
Doesn't matter, that's what we want. Doesn't matter, I don't know. We
So,
just, our
okay,
advice is,
let me ask you then, why have you got a perimeter in there then of a shaft drive?
because the information that we talked about, and we're talking to people who have run these mowers and or our guys that work them, and at least one repair shop that said that the shaft drive on rough terrain and a lot of hard mowing is probably gonna hold up better.
Well, I
than
will
a
tell
belt
you
drive.
this, that if you buy a shaft drive mower, you will have more parts, you will have more direct drive, you will have more shock problems. And I sell a mower out there that is as big as this, probably got bigger tires on it, bigger hydros on it, is gas, 3-year unconditional warranty, 2 belts, that's it. One belt runs everything, the other
Jerry, I
belt
don't
runs
wanna
the.
cut you, I don't wanna cut you off, sir, but your paperwork was in our bids, what you gave us was there, so they were considered, so that's the end of it.
And that is the first bid I've got in my life that is like that. They come to me afterwards.
No, you were asked to fill that out a couple times, so we're not gonna argue that here.
No,
Thank
but
you.
what I'm saying is, I asked who set up the perimeters.
We did, this
Yes,
council
and the
did.
perimeter, the only person that's got a perimeter on a shaft drive is John Deere.
Okay. Thank you,
Okay,
we're done.
and I'll tell you this, you can buy that mower from us for under $11,000.
Okay, we had your
3-year
bid, and
warranty.
they
Wait,
laid-
wait,
Let him finish.
3-year warranty, 10 years on the deck. And we've got some up at the Nest, we got some at Miller Farms, we've got some, over here at Wygon, down by Norfolk, and everyone says that's a fantastic mower. And we got one sitting out there now that they could even take and run, and they haven't come out to do that. And I told them a year ago they could come out and use that mower and try it.
So you said, how much is that mower?
You can buy that mower for $10,998, less than $11,000.
Was that in our packet?
Yes.
And I'll guarantee you, it's got as big a tires on it. It's got a, it's got a,
Okay, I can't remember.
it's side discharge. You do not want to go rear discharge.
And that's a zero turn?
0 turn. It's sitting out there right now.
We do the trade-in,
Not on that one, I won't, no.
That was,
and you do the government appraising?
What's that?
You do the government appraising?
No, that's the basic price what it costs. $10,998, and it's made in Nebraska. 35 horse Kawasaki motor. The other thing is you talk about diesel. If you want to buy a diesel, why do you want to spend that kind of money for a diesel engine over a gas? When the diesel you got now has got what? Less than 2,000 hours on it. And a diesel engine is going to cost you about 3 times what a gas does.
And your mower has a 72-inch deck?
72-inch deck.
I sat on it.
What's that?
I sat on it.
It's got
Same
a
gauge, if not heavier gauge deck steel.
suspension seat. It's got the front end is oscillating, which runs your deck with the front wheel so that when you get to be that wide, you need to look at something like that so you get a decent cut.
I'm okay with the John Deere thing and trading in right now, doing what we can. And they can make all the promises in the world about what we're gonna do down the road or whatever, but if they'll do the $4,000 trade-in on the $12,500 John Deere, the gas one, if we're gonna get our second mower from our local, one of our 2 local people, who walk across the street here and they can be competitive with it, then we can take a look at that.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Aren't all the bids in already?
What's that?
we're in.
Aren't all the bids in already? Don't you have to use what
I
you
don't
already
know
have?
what they had from them.
Jerry's stuff is right up there with the.
Jerry's stuff was there last month with
Right.
all of it, it's
It's
all
all
there.
in there.
Right.
Yep.
But I mean, did we have a 72-inch comparable from across the street?
The bid we turned in original was exactly the same thing as what I just told you tonight.
Are
And
those
you
here?
were out
Are those
there,
up here?
Mr. Holstein, you were out there when we give you the bid. And Ronnie
Yeah,
was
last
there
month.
too.
Last month. Or you got access to those?
You what?
We have access to those bids right now.
I can.
But I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, it was written on a different letterhead.
His
It's like-
was that handwritten sheet, we asked for it on the letterhead, and we didn't get it that way, it was just handwritten. You guys got the mower packet, not last meeting, but the meeting before.
We
If
got
that
it in
helps.
the meeting 2 weeks ago when we discussed this.
Right, and his was there, and we discussed his as well.
And what they sell across the street is grasshopper, right? Is that-
Yes, yes.
Was that in there as well?
Yes.
And I don't remember it being comparable, or was it a diesel, or was it, it wasn't a 72-inch, it wasn't available, or it was different?
The motion that you guys, the parameters that you set, the motion you set, said a 72-inch zero-turn mower for $12,500 or less. Must take our diesel trade-in. It must be shaft driven, and you wanted 2 gases. John, the closest, and you wanted 2. The closest that anybody got was John Deere, but one of them was diesel. Now, that's what you guys said at the meeting, what your motion was. Okay, so nobody could meet those. So then it's all back to whatever you guys want to do. So if you want to follow your motion, the closest, it would be the 2 John Deeres. But if you don't want to, if you don't want to do that, then we go to either the grasshopper over there or to Jerry Steffens. That's the question.
Will they give us a trade-in and the government pricing on gas? If we
Yes.
just do the gas?
Yes,
What would that final price be?
it would be
8,500.
12.5 less than 4,
That's
so
what
it'd be
we-
8,500, yes.
Yeah, that's what we agreed.
Yeah, I couldn't answer it that day, and I called him the next day and asked him, he said yes.
If they'll honor the $8,500, we'll buy that one, and we'll go here or there for the other one.
I agree with
They will want, one thing I forgot, they will want $1,000 for the extra fancy tires.
that. Thank you. Thank you.
I just remembered that.
yours is the Python?
Whirl one. Yeah, Python, yes,
Python.
that's the size of it.
Okay,
Those are Jerry's reasons.
okay.
And so,
It's 35 horse, there's 2 belts in it, the whole thing.
What threw me right away was it's on a Nebraska World Water Association letterhead, so I'm just like, how can this be a bit more? But that's what it was written on, so.
I like Bob's idea, I think. So you're saying that so it would be
9,500.
9,500 for that more.
And the Caden one, according to this, do they make a grasshopper that's a gas because we only had a diesel to compare it with in this bid, right?
I didn't go back and ask that question because everything fell apart the
Right.
next day.
Right.
So,
Give us some stuff.
And the very last page is where, that's where I got the information from, where it's 12,500. I don't know about the $1,000 tires. I don't know whether that's
okay,
something. they can
you
do.
want me to explain it again? The mower he quoted there has been sold. They ordered a mower to come into their site in Bloomfield. And when they ordered it for in stock, they ordered it with the new fancy $1,000 extra dollar tires. He said, I can honor everything, but we would like to get the money for the tires.
And so,
But if you buy the second mower from me, I'll forget that now.
yeah, tell me the tires, what's
They're the-
special about the tires?
They're supposed to ride softer. There's no air. They're not pneumatic. I don't know if you've seen them. It's basically a tread, and then there's ribs of
What else?
plastic
Yeah.
that go from
Michelin tires.
supposedly they're
Probably like the old
$1,000 more.
They never go down.
They're new, so
They just go off the rim.
they're supposed to be a softer rider and longer wearing. That's how they're selling it.
And the John Deere sitting over there, we can take our diesel, take it over there tomorrow and bring the John Deere back and go $9,500.
I believe so, yes.
And the other Jerry's mower sitting there, because I was sitting on it, it's sitting out there ready to go, and for $10,998, we can own that.
If that's what you want to do,
She
yes.
said they'll take the 4,000 trade.
They will take the 4,000 trade on the one.
What does that have to do?
We'd have 272s, yes.
And the
No
belly.
matter which
And
way
we
we
have
have,
the belly left.
we'd have the belly mower left, yes.
I'm good with that.
At about $20,000.
25,000, or 20,000.
Okay.
And we can get them both this week.
And you'd have both gas.
We got them both this week.
What, just from the guys that run it, the diesels run cooler on an all-day thing, apparently, but the diesel costs more to buy, so.
Last Thursday, when I called Grossenberg to find out if they still had, if everything was still up and up, he said it's in western Nebraska. He's gotta go himself with a trailer and pick up. mowers from different places. It's in Nebraska and they just gotta go get it to have, a matter of just a few days.
That's fine.
And that one could be here as well. But our name is on it.
Okay.
I need to call them tomorrow and tell them yes or no.
Let's make a motion to do that.
Do we have to rescind the other motion or something like that, or no?
Well, because you could.
We
Okay.
couldn't.
Once we didn't meet the requirements of
Yeah.
everything, that's, okay.
You start all over.
Yep.
Okay, so what's your motion?
A motion is by John from Grossenberg to gas with the trade-in and the government pricing at $9,500. And then buy one from Jerry Stephen. 10,999.
10,996.
10,996, sorry. 10,994.
$83.
Can't be Jerry's right.
10,996.
8 is.
Now, I'm still trying to write John Deere.
You can get the price off of that.
Yeah, I can fill that in later. It's just John, one from John Deere, one from Jerry.
Please.
That's the,
And James, did you make that motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Motion by James and second by Bob. Purchase one John Deere mower and one from, one Kawasaki, is that what they're called?
Whirl Lawn.
Um,
Whirl Lawn, it's a Python model, it's a heavy duty.
From Stephen Service, or Stephanie Service. And we'll start the vote with, Bob,
Yes.
and Don.
Yes.
And James.
Yes.
So still on the unfinished, we have streets before we can go into the,
Cool. All you need.
Okay, so at the last meeting, you talked about streets, and it said at this point, we just need, use the sack material from the mark. And the calls come in constantly about this hole, that hole, and this is tearing up my car, and we can't buy enough sacks. We've got to do something with our streets. And since you didn't want us to build the strip last year, we've got nothing to fix it with unless we do buy the sacks, and we've got some we can use up. But I truly believe, I think there's a misunderstanding about milling and overlaying and that kind of stuff. So, for example, the gentleman that gave us the bid that I was trying to push last time, and I'm not gonna apologize, but this is the best bid we got, and the man is working at Coolidge. We've got the recommendations, he's there now, I got a call from him today. When you have a street like Wyoming and Colorado, we know that those are terrible.
Yep.
When we talk about milling them up, there's nothing left to mill. They've not had anything done to them for quite a few years. So, yes, we mill, but we just pick up the bad that's there. And I'm probably not saying all this right, because I'm not a street person. I'm not a street maker, but we need to use people that know about streets. So, if this bid that came in, I didn't bring that again, 27?
it's 123, 125, something.
So you've got from the elevator through to Chad Tott's corner. That takes care of those two bad dips. And that road that goes down to the softball field, as that becomes more and more used, that was part of the plan, and they did have a tournament there last year. And there was concern about, I know that you want them to slow down, but people don't see those dips. And there was one kid that had a pretty bad fall over that, just on a bicycle. So if you go from that distance, then he's talking about milling where he has to, actually talking like Jerry's talked about for a long time, that you've got that center ridge, so use that, build your sides up, and get it to a road that is usable, passable, and right. He uses hot asphalt, which is in most people's opinion that I've talked to is probably a little better than the dry that we've used, the cold mix, just simply because of what it is. Then you have I don't remember which street did he pick, Colorado? Wyoming. So from the whole of Wyoming Street, and there again, make it where it needs to be milled and put that hot mix in, and then fix the concrete down here.
So where does he get the hot mix from? Where does he get the asphalt for the hot mix? There's not enough asphalt on Wyoming Street to fill a bucket.
Right.
You can't get blood out of a turnip, you can't grind it up.
No, he doesn't, no, he's not, he doesn't have to depend on that, he's mixing his own hot mix, yeah.
He's bringing his own
Yes,
hot mix.
yes, yes. So he's not dependent on anything we're producing, he's furnishing the hot mix, he's furnishing the equipment, he's doing the work. And those three places for $127,000, and we better be spending some road money this year, we're gonna be in trouble again with our road money. So $127,000, see if you like it. If you don't like it, don't get him again.
Well,
And what he would like to do is to make a deal. He said, you know, let me show you what I can do, because he has a deal with Coolidge that he fixes their streets. So when he keeps an eye on, he goes in, takes care of it. All that our maintenance people would be doing would be filling potholes here and there.
So
working with him, and there's where we could, you know.
I drove through Coolidge last week. Coolidge has 3 asphalt streets. The rest of the whole town is cement.
I understand the desire for cement, James.
No, but
We
I'm
can't do
saying,
that all at once.
he maintains less than 5% of their streets. The rest of their streets are all cement. Every one of them in town, I drove through the whole town.
So you can, I can't, I'm not that good at telling the difference between cement and asphalt, I guess, because this is cement partly, but there's cement other places that people are calling asphalt here too, so I don't know.
I can tell there's cement and asphalt, they were all cement.
Well, so what are you telling me? That
That-
you don't believe him, or?
No, I'm
you
just
don't?
saying, you're saying that he maintains the streets in Coolidge.
Okay,
He maintains 3 streets in Coolidge.
I'm telling you that he has a contract with them, the way I understand it. Pat talked to one of the council members. He said he does certain work, so every year they find, you know, they do so much, and comes back around and does what needs to be done, or tells what, we didn't, for all the particulars, exactly where does he go, and how many blocks does he do, but they have contracted with him, as I understand it, and they're perfectly happy with him, so, I don't know.
And then I read over those bids today, and it looked to me that they were just gonna take 8 feet and in towards the curb, and that's what they're gonna replace.
Said wherever you have what the build-up center that is in good shape, that does not need to be milled up and torn up, that they would build up to it.
Okay.
So you're right, they're resurfacing an outside edge, and the center would stay the
They
same.
stay the same.
If it's good.
And we're talking 2 inches
Of what?
asphalt.
3, if his bid says 3 at the curb and 1 inch at 8 feet.
So 3 at the curb,
1 inch at 8 feet in from the curb. And then he would put hot mix in there on both sides, and then he would double armor coat over that. But that's what he explained, and that's, if you scrutinize that bid, that's what I read when I read the bid. It's 3 inches milling at the curb. His miller is 8 feet wide, and he could get it set where he could go 3 at the curb and 1 in toward the center. He looked at every street and said, I feel your centers are good, your outside edges are not. He says, I wanna get more work in this area. He said, I wanna come to Coolidge, I wanna come to Crofton, I wanna come to a few more towns when I come. He says, that's what I'd like to do. He says, I don't wanna do anything that is gonna jeopardize my business, cause him and his son are trying to grow their business as well. He said, he's done this for years, and he used Coleridge as a reference.
Well, what's the magic, you said the street number we have to, that we got in trouble for last year for not spending, what's that magic number? Hundreds, how many people?
Well, it's averaged, I think it's averaged right at 125, somewhere in there is what we get from the state, and then we have to match it with 1/4 of that. So a fourth, that's another 25 plus, what, 12, so 150,000 or whatever that has to be spent.
And what was the estimate to fix Second Street? The right, fix Second Street, they dig that out, fix it with cement, and rebar.
Well, I don't remember that, we only had one bid on that, and here's the problem with that, Bob. The 2 or 3 people that came here said, don't do that, you don't need to do that, you're just wasting your money. Because there's nothing wrong with, and even I reread JEOs, they did not say tear that out, they said you will want to make sure the infrastructure is good below it if there's a problem. They were never told that that was the newest street in town and that infrastructure was the newest in town. There's nothing wrong with that infrastructure. But what he was saying was if you're gonna take that up, then you would want, once you get in there, you would want to make sure that your water and sewer and all that's good. We know it is. So we don't have to dig down to that. And, you know, Boomer's fixed cracks in cement. There's cracks in cement on a lot of sidewalks and stuff. You keep the water from getting underneath it, as I understand it, but you just fill the cracks. That's what they did at the bottom of the swimming pool. We let them go in there every year and fix the cracks, which, by the way, he said this year is down into the dirt, so I don't know if there'll be another fixing. But at least let him seal it up, that's almost nothing. Let him seal it up, and if it's bad underneath, it's gonna sink. And it's not sinking, it's just cracked.
It's sinking, there's a step. I mean, you know, when you drive on a car, you can see it's dropped down.
Well, just where the crack is though, you're not losing it all the way across the street. You don't have this big hole underneath is what I'm saying. It's right where the crack is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll happen as what I'm told is they have to, you know, shave that off and stuff, whatever, but it's still right there at the surface. But if it continues to get water underneath and wash the water and the sand out from around the infrastructure underneath, then you're gonna have the whole road be compromised to some extent.
So let me ask.
And if we're not, excuse me, if it's in the summertime,
So let me ask a dumb question. What is the council's options? Because that's what you need to vote on tonight, right? What's your options? I'm not sure I know. I guess option number 1 is the same range. Option number 2 is,
I've got,
we had one from Grimes, which would do the same thing, kind of talk the same thing. And his was 163,000, and he'd just do the 5 blocks. He didn't include Wyoming Street, he didn't include fixing the concrete.
And they do not armor coat.
And they don't armor coat, they just come in and mill it up and put new down.
I talked to 3 people about getting bids on that same street for cement. I've not got any of those back.
Say it again.
3 companies about cementing that same street.
Cementing what street?
Those streets that you're talking about asphalt.
And what were their bids?
I haven't gotten those back yet. I have not gotten those back yet.
Well, they're gonna be costly.
Oh, I understand that. There's no doubt in my mind.
Okay, so here's where I see it. You guys, you know, I'm the one that looks at the books every day. Whether you like it or not, I'm the one that looks at the books every day. Right now, they haven't been closed for a while, so you're not seeing what's in total in funds and so forth, but we know we have to spend a certain amount of money, and we didn't do it last year.
Yeah, we did. Yes, we did.
Excuse me, we did not spend money on the streets last year. I transferred money to the Sharon Street account
That's still on
to
the
meet
street.
that.
That covers our commitment, Cheryl.
Didn't say we didn't cover our commitment, I said we didn't spend it on streets. We did not fix any streets.
That's not what you said. You said we didn't
We
spend.
did not spend it on fixing streets. We fixed the budget by transferring it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the discussion. What I'm saying is that we have a street superintendent that we pay to point out places that need fixed. That 1 to 6 has been the same since I came on the council 4 years ago. The maintenance people have been stopped at fixing holes and doing some overlay and make this strip last for 3 years and all of that. We'd like to turn some of that around. We'd like to see some streets that actually get some. Boomer was extremely excited that he could finally fix some streets, and then we never got the equipment to finish it out. So this money needs to be spent on streets, but that's not all of it. We need to have the streets. We've got the money to fix it. But if we start building, I'd love to start building concrete streets. But the fact is, we've got a sewer plant to build. You want a swimming pool, and we want streets, and those are 3 major things all the way. There's a possibility that with the mood of the money that's out there for grants and so forth, we've got one for the sewer. It's more available, I guess, now after the COVID thing, because there's all kinds of money coming out to fix this and fix that and keep people healthy. But we need to not just throw up more than we need to into the streets and take away from that overall picture. That's the way I'm looking at it. We can't ignore the people that take care of us and keep the wages at rock bottom and build cement streets and ignore the lagoon and the people that work it, and keep our equipment at bare minimum and as cheap as we can get it. And not, if we were gonna help with the streets, we need a couple things yet. If you want the intersection sanded in the wintertime, you need equipment to do that. Not sit there with a front end loader and shake a little sand in the middle of it. And we're looking at all this in the wrong way as far as I'm concerned. So you can do what you will do what you want to do, but for us to sit back and do nothing while we wait to do concrete is, I just can't do that. I can't accept that we would actually do that.
When it comes to your obligations for the use of the funds, is that considered when, let's say, a contract is signed or authorized? Is that when it's considered qualified for that, or is it when the work actually starts?
Say that again. When it's spent, it has to be spent.
Well, I know, but when do they consider it, I'm using the word spent? Is you made a contract with somebody to start the work, or when they actually start the work, as far as your auditing is concerned?
Well, everything's on a cash basis, so it's usually when it's paid. So now, they let us transfer that money, but they said that's reserved for that Sharon Street, but that was a payment. And that went from September when the budget was due till November, December when the payment, so it's a couple months. And she said, don't you dare spend it for anything else.
Sure, but from the standpoint of your
Budget
year, it is
September.
September to September.
October 1st to September 3rd.
Okay, I get it. So then as far as the options that the council's got, you have one person who would put in asphalt for 123 approximately, another one 160. You have a potential
fix manholes and repair Second Street, cement, the way it needs to be fixed.
Bob, would you please talk with the experts that build roads before you just talk to cement people? There's a difference between laying cement and building roads. And I would urge you to talk to people that fix roads, not people that just build cement. Okay? That's what and if we find out something different, I'm open, but I don't see that kind of money for half a block. Our guys, our maintenance guys have cut the thick concrete out and fixed it. So, you know, please give them some degree of consideration for what they know.
Did, we make official contact with, Knox County to see what they sell us a yard cost for part of the strip? I know they were open to that, they were waiting for somebody to contact them to see what they were gonna figure out what it cost per yard of that material would be for patching if we're out. They also had a resource, if we were gonna contact them, a resource for the bag, which they said was really good stuff, the bag that you buy and.
So I don't know who you're talking to, but when I last talked to the road superintendent, he said that they would sell it if it was available, and they didn't know if it was gonna be available. So.
Have we purchased any of that bag?
Oh, there was some purchased a year ago, or two, was it last year?
Yeah, we bought 20 bags last fall to have it on hand. We put it in the shop just in case we had a pothole to fill.
They didn't use it.
No, it's still sitting there, we're trying to get the pool open and.
But we've used some of the bags,
We've used
yes,
some of
if
it,
that's your
yes.
question. Have we used the
Oh, yeah,
bags?
we've
Yes.
used some bags of it.
If you go right in front of the door of the office,
Yeah.
we did half of
Yeah.
the street with,
Yeah.
the bag and half of the street with cold mix to see which one held up longer.
Yeah, we talked about that.
So,
And Knox County said the bag stuff is excellent,
Excellent,
but they had a resource where we could buy bulk bags.
excellent, that's what I was told too. Excellent.
but check your price. What we have found on that is it's still pretty costly, so.
The bags are like 50 pounds.
Mhm.
It's a-
And then you've got to pack them right if it's gonna work, and we don't have the equipment for that. So. You look at the whole picture kind of. So,
So speaking of the whole picture, that's what my recommendation would be, is let's look at the whole picture by knowing how much the cement is gonna cost by our potential vendors and, see where we're at from there, if that's.
Yep,
and are they road builders, James?
they're cement pours,
We need road builders, please.
cement pours.
Well, I really object to that, but that's your
Okay.
deal.
Thank you. Yes, Jerry?
Well, you know, you talk about cement, and I'm where you are. You take cement and look at 20, 25 years, once it's down, what do we spend for maintenance?
No.
Nothing.
Absolutely.
No.
And I just got done talking to some people down in Fordyce who had Knife River down there, I think it's 3 years now. And he said, since we done that, he said, our street maintenance has gone down to nothing.
Sure.
He says, we don't spend any labor, we don't spend any fuel, he said, we should have done that a long time ago.
But they did all asphalt too.
Yes, they done asphalt, but that is the same stuff that's on 121 and down here by the dam.
Yep.
And from what I see of that stuff, that is excellent stuff. Now, when they come past my place and they cored it, it was at noon, I went out, I ate dinner quick and I went out and it went down, I think about 11 inches. And he brought that up and he looked at it and he moved it and I said, what do you think? Well, he said, all this oil you've got down here is what they call temporary patch.
Yep.
And he says, look at the bottom of this. He said, you can see the oil has almost gone out of this and drained into the earth. He said, it's basically sand. And he said, here, take your finger and run on it. I run on it. And if you guys think I'm screwing you, go down there, take the number off of that that's on the street out there and go look to see what you've got. Now, you talk about you're gonna let the center, like past my place, that thing has been packed so sticking many times, they ought to call it Pack Street. That street, my intersection, when they had to raise the manhole, they had to raise it 11 inches
Not even talk.
from the original manhole to where it was. So my street has got 11 inches on it. When I built my house, I had to have the north end of what's my garage right now, had to be 16 inches above the center of the street. If I take a little laser and put it out on the street, which sits up 4 inches, and I shine it on my house, it shines up 4 inches on the north side of my garage. That's how much oil has been put on my street time after time after time because of all the water that comes by there and washes it out.
But it's not
Just-
asphalt.
I mean, it's just a waste of time.
But it's not asphalt.
No, it's not asphalt, you're right.
It's not asphalt.
We've never had a place to get hot asphalt, so
Right.
the oil, but there's still oil mixed in
Right.
coal mix as well.
Right.
And you have to have oil to put it down and all.
Right.
Well, it's all washed out.
So when it washes away, because the
What?
oil might
It's
be
all
left.
washed out in front of my shop along the.
If we would get a 2-inch rain tonight, that oil that you put out by my place there will be gone tomorrow morning.
I know, but you should.
I know,
Do
but-
leave the hole?
I know, but that's what
I
we've been
put
doing
something
for
in it so
20-some
many times it
years.
doesn't fall
We
off.
gotta make a change. We gotta do something so we don't spend that kind of money.
But we've been arguing for 3 years and no decision's been made yet.
Can get it done, so.
But let's do some repair, let's make some decisions.
That whole street there needs to be cut completely out of there, and that's what the engineer told me the night I went down there with him.
Okay, so you don't wanna do anything with streets, is that, did I get that right?
Yep.
Okay. And the mowers are taken care of, the pool's taken care of, we need to do the sewer lagoon and.
Yeah, let's do that last, so people have to.
Yep, and so can we move into the new business?
Mhm.
The water fountain for the softball complex, I believe they already,
It's already done.
put it on the building.
It's already done and used. It's already using it.
I understand that, what we're asking for is if we wanna help pay for it.
It's already paid for. I just texted somebody and asked them, they told me that the other day, it's already paid for and working, somebody volunteered, paid for it and set it up.
That's cool.
Well, my understanding was they paid for it, but that was out of the association and they wanted to see if we wanted to help pay for it. So I've been told different from that.
I was told just the other day that it was already paid for and somebody volunteered to put it up and
Do you mind telling me who told you it was paid?
Wendy Weaver.
Who?
Wendy. And I just texted Wendy, I said, I thought we already had a bunch, she said, it's in use and it's already paid.
Yeah, it's up and it's paid for, but Lonnie came in and talked to me and said, would the city help pay for it? That's, so,
Paid for what?
the water, the water fountain, they bought it, they put it up, they did all that, but they wanted to know if we would like to share some costs. We never put any money into the softball, we never do anything like that. So I can double check with him,
Yeah,
but that was.
that's what I was told.
Yes, somebody, because they had to pay for it to get it.
Right.
But they were hoping that we would pay some of that,
Okay.
so. There are some electrical repairs that need done down there. In working in the field, there was some lines that were closed, whatever, anyway, going to the pole, they need that security light, and then it runs, a couple of items there, but they need that electrical line replaced. I think it goes underground and comes up on that pole to the security light, and then it also runs their batting cage, maybe? Pitching machine, okay. So they wanna know if we'll help with that, and we could just get Merkel to go down there and do it if that's okay with everybody, and did he give us a
800.
800
Somewhere
estimate
around
somewhere?
800.
So are you willing to put out $800 for the electrical? It's ours to do, we do more than that for the baseball every year.
Yes,
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Do you have a motion?
I'll make a motion, Bakes Electric, baseball, security light and the pancake.
Up to $800?
Yes.
It might be more than that.
Well,
Yeah,
Tell
there's
me
Do you wanna just fix it, or do you wanna
Well,
put
it's
it on
gotta
the
be
top?
fixed. Is it $800 or is it
Well,
$800 dish?
estimate, yeah. You know, the only way I can tell you exactly is bring you a bill, but then that would mean we'd have to go get it done.
This was, they gave me the estimate 2 months ago.
Okay.
It just keeps getting pushed down the road, so will they still do it for 800? I'm guessing everything they've done for the city, they probably will, but.
I'll go.
they've
Can we
done-
just
they've
make
done
it-
a lot
can
of
we
work
just
for
make it
the
$1,000.
city.
Just making a motion for $1,000.
Not to exceed it.
Not to exceed
Not to
1,000.
exceed 1,000, okay.
And I will second that motion.
The, number 4, which was
Oh, yeah,
the
well,
approval. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to vote, sorry.
Motion.
James, motion by James.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, start the voting, James. Bob?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
That's water.
We wanna do anything with the fountain?
That's it. They
We're
said
gonna
they,
help with the fountain.
they did, they,
Or no?
do you wanna do anything with the fountain?
I guess I didn't.
I'll visit
know.
with, who came in to see you? Lonnie? Trent,
Yes.
or Ronnie, or who did?
Lonnie Tran.
I'll visit with Lonnie.
Okay, the final, the approval of the possible new personnel, I think you've already done that because I told you that, there's a guy working in the office and we did pay $10.50 on her wage, but the new person on the pool. So, and that's Megan Tramp, that's working in it. So
I don't
is that?
think you did I don't think you did a motion on that.
You
I think the only
didn't,
thing
no.
you had was just for the pool.
Just for
people.
the pool. That's what I got to, just
Okay,
for the pool.
because I mentioned that we would start her at the same, so.
Yeah, we put
then I
it in
did
the ordinance. It
Pardon?
was, it's included in.
It's included in that ordinance,
Ordinance,
yeah.
but then approve it.
That's the way I understood it, but if you, do we need a second
So who
motion?
did we have, yes, we, for bacon, we do it for 10.50, right?
Right.
Okay, so who's made the motion?
I'll make the motion to approve Megan Tramp as, personnel for the city of Crofton.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Okay, Bob,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
James.
Yes.
So we're jumping around here, but this is all connected.
I think the only thing you've got left, I think, is dealing with the sewer, which is a contractual thing we need to talk about. We need to deal with the contract with the police chief, which I want to everybody know I drove slower today. Drive.
And he said that he didn't know how many people downtown that told him I had to slow down when I saw that car.
Oh, dang. Good for you.
Let's do the appropriations and claims too.
Yes, that's right.
On the appropriations and claims, the claims presented for approval for today, they're in this packet right here. Arlene put it together today when she was in. And I want you to look at Brian Weaver's house down there, the DNS security. This was actually apparently something on his camera that maybe the sheriff's office asked him to put on a tape. And I talked with our new police chief and he said that when they do that, it's because it's in the cloud and they have to pay to get it off. That's the problem with putting things in the cloud. So Brian came in with the bill and said, I don't think I probably should have to pay for this. And And I said, I probably agree with that. And, but in talking with our police chief, he said if the county got it, then maybe that's their bill. So I would like to just take that off the list till we explore that.
It's on her twice.
Is it?
Yeah.
There was two separate
Yeah.
incidents.
Sorry, no, that's just,
So is you just salary twice.
well,
Well, that's fine.
Arlene was getting very tired
Nope.
when she finished
Bring
that.
it to your.
Yeah. So, and we were adding things and subtracting things. So yes, if anything's doubled up, just already out.
The colonial research is, that's analysis of the first sample holes that we had, or what is that colonial?
Where is that?
$1,981, about midway down. Colonial Research, that's the research company that Miller uses? to-
No,
Okay.
no, that's whatever medical.
Oh,
That was because we do that sometimes. Well, I don't know. Should be.
there should be a bill in there from Colonial Research.
Yeah. It's one of the insurances, but that's not research. Get that one out.
Then there's a quarantine thing, I don't know.
Corn main meters, water meters. Oh, the colonial research, the chlorine for the pool. That's where we ordered the chlorine for the pool. Just wasn't, we just don't order from that very often, and we don't. And then I would like to add one at this late date on that list. There was a lady who came in and paid a $25 fee for a shelter reservation. It's petty, I mean, it's small, but it's not petty. And she wanted to do a surprise for a relative who was ill, and so forth and so on, and because of some bad circumstances, that all went bad. And I think we could give that 25 back to her, but I can't do that because it's at the bank. So can we authorize a check for $25 to pay her back for that shelter, because they had to cancel the whole thing?
I'll authorize that.
Okay, so we have a motion by James to
I'll
add
second.
that just to add it to the, okay? Well, we can okay it, we can just add it and okay it with the whole claims list too, we do that. Let's do that. Is there anything else, questions, and then we can just have a motion to okay the claims when we get there. As again.
The Knife thing is a little bit higher than the estimate, we must get some additional things, we ran into some stuff that we cleaned up for.
Say it again.
The Knife thing, the estimate we had before was $2,500 last time, when we had our meeting about that. There must have been some extra things they cleaned up or something like that.
What they
did a
charged
good
us,
job.
they charged us was $850 for any tree that had to come down
Okay.
or that was already down. And then I think they charged us something like $300 to clean up the ones that were falling on the playground, those bad limbs.
So the estimate number was just like.
Yeah,
there was additional things that
and
were-
you need to know we've got a check from insurance, so that's a wash. So, and then we'll have them do some others, cause I asked them to take those off up there on the hill behind Allen and Irma. See, there's one, and insurance will pay for some of those that have to come down, and that got,
Yeah.
one came down and one needs to come down. So we're still checking out, and I've asked Dale Tramp to help us with, cause he's in touch with Dan, that tree board, so they can help making recommendations how to replant these. And he said they had a plan at one time to replace every year to replace 2 of these old, and that's what, see, we have trees growing inside of trees here, they need to come down before they hurt someone. And that $850 with all that cleanup, the cheapest we'd ever found it before was $800 a tree, and we had to do the cleanup. So this is a good deal. We need to get all we can get out of there. Right?
They're pretty professional.
Yep. They got it done in a quick Okay, so then can we have a motion to, pay the claims as amended, and we amended it by taking out the doubles and adding that 25?
I'll make a motion to pay the claims.
I'll second.
Okay, Don,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
and Bob.
Yes.
Okay.
Make a motion to go in closed session to discuss the contractual agreement with the police chief and, lagoon contract agreement.
I'll second that.
Before you go to closed session, can I say one thing?
Sure.
A little more than a week ago, we had our tornado warning in town. The city needs to get a civil defense plan in place. Something for me. You as firefighters handle the storm spawning. That's the city's responsibility to get that stuff set up. Now, I don't feel that the I think we have to get it cleared with our board and everything to be able to do that, but the city needs to put something together and request that. I brought this up years back and it fell on deaf ears. I got told GPS will take care of it, that's what we got.
I'd like to add to that with the tornado warning. We were not here, we were out of town, but I talked to some of the neighbors with the wind and everything.
You couldn't hear it down there.
You can't hear it.
I'd say
That was my second part of that, is
We
we
need to
need to
look at
really look at
second.
the siren capabilities around town, because I talked to numerous people on the north side that they never heard nothing.
The wind and everything. If it's a normal day when the siren goes off, you can hear it. If you get a storm like that with the wind blowing, you can't hear squat.
Because I know a few months back, Wabernet came and
Yep.
talked about the brain box and stuff.
Yep.
And before a person gets I have no idea how that system all works or anything, but you're gonna wanna make sure that it's able to be expandable to more whistles.
Sure.
To cover the territory of town.
And is that, put another siren in, is that a city issue, is that a fire?
The storm side of it's city. A lot of towns have city and rural fire boards or districts where the city side is.
Okay.
And we are not. Now, if there's some sort of an agreement in place, nobody knows about it.
There's the county civil defense group,
That
right?
does not cover your city.
Okay.
The city is responsible. Pat Schmidt was civil defense coordinator. We've had that discussion before where when he was fired,
He wasn't fired.
well, when he was not employed with the city anymore, nobody had any idea that was
Well,
part of the city,
we have no.
knew that he handled that.
Okay, but anyway, yes.
I mean,
Thank you,
this was
Michael.
brought up
Yeah.
when Jonathan was still here, and him and Pikes were supposed to get together, get something going, nothing happened.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just bringing it back to the forefront because.
And that's
You would've sat down here for 2 hours that night and watched every one of them flags in the park blow at full speed and then drop on a whim.
Yeah, it was a scary night. Scary night.
But,
Thank you.
you know, I've got firefighters out there spotting and, you know, there's nothing in place saying that that's our job to do. The city needs to put a plan together and, like I said, I don't think, we've talked about it for years, it was kind of in the process with Pat back in the day to get that going. But with his departure, obviously that ended.
Well, and that's what I was saying, was the county put together the notebooks that would coordinate all that, and that was given to those people, the police chief, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see what comes up now. We have what we can get in place. Thank you.
It'll get brought up, we're gonna discuss it some tomorrow night about doing the spotting, at least get ahead of the ball.
And there's been a discussion, as I understand it, Michael, about whether the spotting is necessary with the radar stuff.
Yeah.
And you feel strongly it is,
What?
right? The spotting.
Oh, yeah, it is, because the last time I brought it up at a city council meeting, I got told GPS takes care of that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
GPS tells you where to go, not weather. That's what I'm saying, is,
Who worked with,
Well, there's still the weather service, you know.
who was working with Pat?
what's that?
Who was working with Pat, putting that together? Was Pat on the?
Well, Pat was kind of doing, getting
Doing-
stuff together to go to the city with it, but
Okay.
he was working with like me and.
Folks, we gotta move on. This isn't on the agenda anyway, so get together and visit and bring it back.
Thank you, Mike.
On the tires
for the city.
Okay, Bob made the
Those were not
motion to go
happening.
into executive session. Bob, you made the,
I was told that the tire size, that was it. No brand, no nothing.
okay,
police chief has a question.
yes.
I just wanted to introduce myself before you go into the executive session,
Yes.
especially
Yes.
since you're gonna be voting on the contract with me.
Yes.
For you?
Yes, exactly. So, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is John Carter. I was the chief deputy in Dundee County, Dundee County Sheriff's Office for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. I was in Dundee County for 5 years. I'm a 30-year law enforcement veteran. I know that usually when you have, folks to come to town, sometimes they're newer, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I was in the United States Marine Corps as an intelligence analyst. I'm a Creighton Law School grad. I'm also an adjunct professor at Mid-Plains College, so I teach the implicit bias for law enforcement personnel across the state, which is required under state statute right now. But I also teach criminal investigations to law enforcement personnel for their continuing education credits, but I also teach the college class for criminal justice, for students that want to get a degree in criminal justice. I'm a former tax and compliance attorney. Here I practiced in several states in the past, so I know a little bit about that, a little bit about what you all are talking about tonight. And I'm also a federal firearms manufacturer dealer. My son and I, my son works for the Red Willow County Sheriff's Office, and he and I own, we're licensed federal firearms dealers. So we make body armor and weapons, and we manufacture ammunition for military units and for law enforcement. So we don't just build rifles and things, we also do targets. I'll talk to the council about some other things if you guys approve the contract, but just know that as of July 1st, under the new Nebraska Law Enforcement Reinvestment Act and Law Enforcement Retention Act, for every law enforcement officer that's hired in this state after July 1st, there's a $10,000 bonus that the state pays for those law enforcement officers. It's an incentive to get people to come back to law enforcement. And also, I know, and I can hear here tonight that there's some issues about, hiring law enforcement personnel, and like one of the problems we're having, just one officer, if somebody leaves, then you're without. But what I would like to do is, if I get hired here, approved by the council, contract gets approved, is to hire a second officer and a school resource officer. So in the fall, when school starts, you'll have someone that's just committed and dedicated to the school. But there's a $175,000 grant to pay for those officers, so it's not a burden on the taxpayers. It's $175,000 per officer that can come in, that is available right now. But my dilemma is the deadline for a part of that grant is June 9th, and the final deadline is June 16th. So if this council wants to get that, I don't have a lot of time. I mean, I've done these in the past. I've got these types of grants for Dundee County. They're usually funded within 45 to 60 days, but the deadlines are very strict, and if you miss them by even 1 hour, they will not accept the application. So I need to know now. So that's who I am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We need a second motion. There's only been-
Bob made a motion to go to session. Second?
I'll second.
John seconds it. Okay, let's go into it. Oh, vote.
Vote.
Bob,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
and Jay.
Yes,